Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today here on the first our Parks Commission meeting on August the 14th. So we at 7 o'clock. So we call to order, Madam Clerk. Thank you. So with that, he's coming. So I'll just wait for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Will's going to lead the pledge.
Yes, I already made sure of that.
I can do it. I was just looking at the team council.
Oh, you were.
All right. Pledge of Allegiance. Well, will Dolly, can you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, should we do the roll call?
Before roll call, I would like to make the following announcement. Due to technical issues, this meeting will not be live streamed on YouTube or Zoom this evening. However, the recording of this meeting will be available on the city's YouTube channel tomorrow. And now we will do roll call. Chair Mitra.
Present.
Vice Chair Breed.
Present.
Commissioner Dorlick.
Present.
Commissioner Levy.
Present.
Commissioner Lopez Lucy.
Present.
Commissioner Osland.
Present.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So we'll go for special item and announcements. So we have two new members. I don't see the student commissioner, but anyway, we'll go ahead with that. Swearing in for the new Parks Commissioner Service, Commissioner Terry Coney, and Student Commissioner Tanishka Chawla, who is not here right now, but we'll just probably go ahead.
Joan.
So if you want to go ahead and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California. That I will take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. Congratulations.
Congratulations. All right, we'll just let the report Chair Commissioner Coney to take the seat. Congratulations.
It's a great seat to sit in.
Next to somebody really great. All right. Next, move on to 4.2, Temporary Employee of the Month, Connie Liu. And presented by James. You. Okay, James is not here.
The man behind the glass.
Man behind the glass, yes.
All right, evening, commissioners. Yeah, I come out of the dungeon. So, evening, thanks for having us tonight. We're here to present Connie Liu with Temporary Employee of the Month for July. The City of San Ramon Parks and Community Services Department would like to recognize Connie Liu, Building Attendant of the Facilities Division, as the Temporary Employee of the Month for July. Connie Liu has been a building attendant with the Facilities Division of the Parks and Community Services Department since August of 2023. In this short time, she has distinguished herself as an exceptional team member, garnering recognition across the department. She has played a crucial role in nearly every major parks and community services event that she has worked closely with in the various foundation groups of their events. Throughout the summer, Connie has been indispensable as a staff member, actively involved in overseeing facility operations and supporting our summer camp programming, facility rentals, and indoor programming. In addition, Connie is always willing to take on new assignments. Most notably, the reason for this, she took on a task that most part-time staff don't want anything to do with. She took on the backpack vacuum and hit up a bunch of intakes, outtakes, a lot of HVAC maintenance that normally would fall on our Public Works Department, but to help them out in this time, she, jumped to the cause. So Connie Liu exemplifies the department's high standards for part-time staff and represents the Facilities Division as well as Employee of the Month. Her dedication and exemplary performance make her one of the facilities team's best staff. She's a tremendous asset to the city. The City of San Ramon Parks and Community Services Department would like to take this opportunity to say thank you for Connie for such commitment and excellence.
Connie, thank you. Thanks for all your service, especially the special responsibility that you took on HVAC operation. That is very important to that. So thank you again. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for this honor.
Yep. And you get a cup. All right. Thank you. Do you want to say something?
Yeah. So thank you, everyone. It is an honor to get this recognition. I'm not the best public speaker, so I'll try to keep this short. It has been a pleasure working with the City of San Ramon over the last year. Everyone has made me feel extremely welcome since the first day I started working here, especially James, Alejandro, Travis, and Jessica. I appreciate all of your hard work and dedication to the team, and I wouldn't have been able to thrive without your support. Again, thank you, everyone, and I hope you all have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. 4.3, do we have a special announcement?
Why, we do have some special announcements. So first of all, my first announcement is a quick reminder for you all to make sure when you're speaking that your mic button is on and red and that you speak into the mic. I know that this is an important announcement because I wasn't here last month, but I did watch the meeting and I got to hear all your comments and really enjoyed it. But sometimes you didn't have the mic button pushed and I could not hear you at all. So I just sometime go back and watch one of the meetings. But try and remember to do that because it really does help a lot. And especially for people who can't attend, or as tonight where we don't have the live recording going, the mics are really important. Another thing, I need 2 commissioners because it is that time every 2 years where we need to interview for the Poet Laureate. And if you remember, we have 2 commissioners and 1 member of the Arts Advisory Committee that do those interviews and then make the recommendation to the full commission and then on to the city council. And so we're looking at doing those interviews on the 25th of September. I don't believe we have a time identified yet, but is there anyone that knows they would be interested? We'll work it out then. Will, that would be logical.
Yep,
Steve? Okay, great. Perfect. Then we will get that set up. And then lastly, of the announcement portion anyway, I don't know how many of you were actually at the Pride and Joy concert that we just had, but I wish I had been at that particular one. But from my understanding and from the videos, there were well over 3,000 people in attendance, very likely one of the largest, if not the largest concert we've ever done. I got so many accolades and happy people comments from that. So it was it sounds like it was a smashing success. So just want to say, if we have Pride and Joy again, make sure you get in early. And I think they just about sold out our VIP reserved parking program, which is great because that was a program we put in not this summer, but the summer before. And so it's nice to see it completely take off on that concert. We've filled it all up. So just in case you need some things to do in September, as summer winds down and the kids have gone back to school today, we have San Ramon Library having a Master Gardener program on August 31st called Succulent Saturday. The San Ramon Senior Foundation's doing one of their bingo programs on September, I jumped that one ahead, 21st. We've got Lady K and the Kings of Swing on September 7th. Crow Canyon Demonstration Gardens Restoration Project also on September 7th, and a library presentation on September 7th. So there's lots on that date. as well as the San Ramon Community Chorus Concert coming up on September 13. And I mentioned this really early, so you can get it on your calendars. On September 19th, we have the Live Well Resource Fair at the Senior Center. That's that opportunity for both seniors and families of seniors to come out and learn about all the different resources available. So just a few things for you to think about attending. That's
you.
it.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next. Madam Clerk, do we have a public comment? Okay, all right. So next,
Nothing on the consent calendar?
good one. Okay, let's move on to item number 6.1, Parks and Community Service Commission regular meeting, July 10th. It's minutes of meeting approval.
So approved.
I second it.
So we have it,
Number 2, the person who moves needs to press
yeah.
You had to press your button.
your button. There we go. Who seconded?
Carol,
Carol, you gotta
Okay.
touch the button.
I did. It's red.
No.
Oh, this one here. Oh, we got, yes,
Now you vote.
So many buttons.
too many.
He's got the bell now.
I had it, I gave it to you.
We always welcome it that way. Don't worry,
Right.
Terry.
There's the hazing.
All right. Okay. Moving on to commission business, 7.1, park development process educational presentation, presented by Cassie Case,
And introduced by me.
introduced by our director, Kathy Hammond.
So I wanted to introduce this item for you all because if you remember several months ago, we were engaged in trying to talk about park amenities and how park development worked, and we're going to be looking forward towards that woodlot eventually and coming up with how that should go together. And so at that time, you all asked that we provide an educational presentation on park development. So I started researching and thinking, okay, I can figure out how to do a presentation on park development, and soon realized I was a little out of my depth and I needed help. And so I reached out to Gates and Associates, landscape architects, to see if they might be willing to assist in this endeavor. Now, I picked Gates because they designed Central Park, that's our flagship park, right? As well as Sunrise Ridge, or what used to be, called as Faria. And they actually even jumped in and did some pro bono kind of work when the Crow Canyon Gardens, when we had the foundation that was trying to form, they came in and assisted with that. So they're the first group that popped to mind. That, in addition, they were long-term San Ramon business located here. They only just moved to Walnut Creek a little bit ago. And they were over by Crow Canyon Gardens. And so just a really long history with San Ramon. So I reached out to them, and Casey Case, their current president, called me back immediately and got excited by the prospect of helping put together a presentation that would be educational for the commission. She can tell you a little bit more, but I think she's seen in her work with other clients that it is a hard process. It's hard to understand it, and people always jump in the middle of it. And so if we can do education at this point from a landscape architect's view, and then in a few months we'll come back again with another presentation, maybe by our public services department, about how much things actually cost, then hopefully we'll have the groundwork that we need to move forward on our next park design. So she actually is donating her time. Her and her colleagues put this presentation together, and she's come here this evening. So it's my pleasure to introduce Casey and to add a big thank you on behalf of the commission for putting the presentation together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you all. It is fun coming back into San Ramon because we don't come out this way as much anymore. But I do remember coming here as a kid. My dad would bring me to watch Jason Kidd play basketball on the courts that used to be where this building is now. He
Yes.
was like, "Do you know that he's coaching the Mavericks?" It was a whole thing. So it's fun to come back. But I did put together a presentation it's talking high level about like what is the process for designing a park. I know that a lot of this is probably going to be pretty familiar to you guys, but I figured keeping things high level and kind of starting that conversation never is a bad thing, and we can kind of talk about it and ask questions if that's helpful, or even if it leads to like future presentations of like more specific things you guys want to hear about, I'm open to that as well. So on the screen, are you guys seeing the presentation that I see on my screen?
No.
Okay. All right, so we talked about this in our firm, and it was kind of funny to take a minute to be like, wow, how do we design parks? Like, what is that process, right? So we came up with these 6 big buckets that we feel like go into the process of initiating a park and doing the planning all the way through having a park. So in these 6 stages, it's the initial planning and feasibility, picking a site, what's happening, community engagement, making sure that what we're designing really fits what the community we're coming into, the actual designing of that space, making sure it fits on where we're putting it, approval and permitting, make sure it works for everybody and it's going to be implementable, the actual building, and then opening it, and then beyond opening it is the maintaining it and keeping it alive. So this is like perfect, and if everything went in this linear pattern, it would just be wonderful, right? But in reality, it's a little bit more like that, kind of. So we felt like sometimes there's some initial planning and feasibility, not always totally, although the city of San Ramon has done a really good job. You guys have a nice parks and recreation open space master plan. You guys have some pretty cool park master plans, so you guys are nailing that part. But that doesn't always happen. Sometimes there's some planning. There's usually some community engagement, if not for any other reason that people are like, what are you doing? What's going on over here? Like, what's happening with this space? Then design development, I feel like, kind of goes quickly, and suddenly it's like you had an idea, now it's like build it, and we're like, oh, okay. And so then it ends up with a little more time in that approval and permitting, like fire's like, wait, you can't do that, but then planning is like, we need that, and there's a little bit of confusion there. Then when we're having things built, I wish this wouldn't always be the case, but there's always some unforeseen thing where you're like, wait, so hold on, there's this giant utility line that's like running through that nobody knew was there. And then when there's the opening, a lot of times people are like, yay, we're done. But there's really this like making sure that it remains vital and is maintainable and is something that is maybe creating revenue if there's rentable spaces, or is somewhere that people feel stewardship and engagement. So one of the things that I thought was helpful, I was like, I have a Parks and Recreation Commission, like what's something I want them to take away from it, is where we think that it would be really helpful to have a little more attention and emphasis is in that earlier planning phase, like really trying to uncover some of the skeletons in the closet earlier, making sure that that is also aligned with some more realistic cost expectations. So some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about is just our experience with some of that planning and the cost things, which are, you know, often malleable and can change. But I thought those were some helpful nuggets. I always like a little presentation with some takeaways. So initial planning and feasibility, our preference is to have that system-wide master plan, which you guys have. It looks at parks not as just these individual spaces, but really as a network. And I think that the plan you guys have does a really good job of addressing that level of service. So there used to be this conversation about making sure that there was certain acreage per person, which is great. That is not a bad metric. But what we really like about the level of service is now it's like, what is somebody's access to that amenity? And what is the quality of that amenity? And what is the need of that amenity for this community, right? So it's taking it a little deeper. So we love paying a little bit more attention to that, because that avoids a scenario where hypothetically every single park has the same features. And suddenly you're like, okay, we don't need any more bocce ball. We want pickleball, which is what everyone wants, but 10 years ago, everyone wanted bocce, right? So then that siphons into this master plan. So if your system-wide one is identifying those needs that you have, now the next level down is like, all right, so in this neighborhood, these were the amenities we were lacking. So this is something that you guys, hypothetically, could hold the developer or yourselves, if the city's designing it, more accountable for. Like, we have this plan that identified a need in this area. So then if my team comes in and we're designing it, we're like, all right, we got to prioritize these top 3 things because that work has already been done that's driving that process. And then what we do at Gates and Associates is we really integrate that planning with community outreach. So it is one thing that it was like, all right, so when our system-wide master plan was created in 2020, this was the feedback we heard, which is valid, right? In my experience, 2020, one of the good things to come out of it was that it really changed how we use parks. People suddenly were working from home more frequently and wanting to go out at 11 o'clock in the afternoon to a park. And so this intensity of use changed. People want to work from parks. They want to have meetings in parks. They want to be having more events outside because it's less of a enclosed environment. They feel less fearful of sickness. So there was an intensity in park use that hypothetically is different from what it was in 2020 or 2019. So we want to make sure, now that we've got the guidelines of the system-wide master plan, that when we're doing the park master plan, we're validating that. It was like, all right, so we heard this is what you guys needed. Is this still true? And then if there's a scenario where some of those demographics have changed, or suddenly there's a higher density there that we didn't expect, and people are suddenly like, well, we want to be able to have an outdoor kitchen, whereas before all they wanted was soccer fields, we have a chance to kind of pivot, right? That way then your system-wide master plan isn't immediately like useless and out the door. It's still really valid, but you have a second opportunity to make sure this is still what we want. Then from there, we come up with the concept. We've got some ideas going on, but there's a design development phase where this is where we really feel like a partnership with the city and those departments would be really valuable. So we love the idea of getting everybody in a room, fire, police, if there's a school district that has some joint use going on, everybody in the same room to talk about what it is they're expecting to see. We as the designers get to hear that and kind of point out some of those challenges and figure out a way to balance those uses. The reason I think this is a really good solution is that then occasionally those things are at odds, and that conversation can be facilitated by us as the designers, as opposed to us being like, well, your fire gave us this comment, but the clearances we need from utilities are this, so we can have 0 trees, right? It saves that coordination effort, and using red lines and comments as a way to solve that is just taking a lot of time. The other thing that I think is really helpful is when we get everybody in the same room and we're all looking at it, the timeline is not as stretched out. And with cost in the last several years, the longer something takes to get in the ground, the more it's costing to build, which takes us to, approval and permitting. I got ahead of myself. So clear checklists, making sure that we understand what those clearances are. Everybody's in the same room. We're all kind of on the same page. Ideally, what happens in the design development is then moved into approval and permitting pretty smoothly because we've already sorted all those potential overlapping uses. Then when we get to construction drawings, I always recommend allow a contingency. There's just always things that you don't expect. And sometimes it's like big, hazardous materials, kind of scary things, which I know you guys have on like the Iron Horse Trail and all that stuff. Other times it's like, oh, turns out there's this little mitigation item we need to do, but it's better to have it and know that it's there as opposed to not budget for it and that it really impacts ultimately the park design. We also like to have the option of, as we're doing the design, keep a couple things in our back pocket. We're like, this would be really cool to do. And if it turns out that we're getting some bids that are under budget, like let's add that back in. So maybe some phasing and some add alternates that make those things a little more feasible in the long run. Then I am a big proponent of requiring some maintenance manuals. So it's really sad for me when we spend a lot of time designing parks and having a vision and they look awesome for the first 2 years and then you go back and I don't know if you guys know the plant Lamandra. It's like one of my favorites. It looks like a grass, but it's not, and it's evergreen, and it doesn't want to be cut back, and so whenever I see it cut back, I'm like, oh no, and you do that like 3 times and it dies, right? So if we give people a manual that helps them understand, like, cut these back once, never cut these back, space these this wide, fertilize at this point, it really helps with the longevity and the durability of it, especially the plant life. And you can do the same thing with the furnishings. It's also really helpful, you guys have done a good job of this, to establish standards. You can get replacement parks from certain manufacturers or pieces, and you can match colorings of things. The irrigation equipment you really like. You guys have done a great job of implementing non-potable water, which is really awesome, but there are some site furnishings and stuff that don't like that, so it's like best to establish those guidelines so you're not having to retrofit after the fact. And then you get to have a park and have that opening and you're all excited about it. So I'm going to show 3 case studies because I thought it was helpful to kind of look at our process. So this is a park in Dublin. It's an all-abilities park called Imagine Playground. So we had an existing park site with kind of a lawn space in between some very active fields. And Dublin had recognized that they needed a more inclusive play area that allowed people of all abilities equal opportunity to play. And one of the really cool things we tried to design, and it came through in some of our play elements, was a lot of this side-by-side play. So somebody who is able-bodied is just as able to move around as somebody who's not. It was really fun. But I liked showing this. This was our initial concept. Then it evolves to this concept, which is slightly different. The graphics also rendered a little bit differently. But I think it's important to see just the difference as we evolve from conceptual into a more design development effort. So there was nothing really significant that happened. It was the availability of some of the structures. It was the viability of one of the existing trees wasn't what we thought. It was that the poured-in-place surfacing was more expensive than we expected, so we had to move in some of the edges. We realized that we needed a shade structure for one of the play elements that didn't come with it. Right, it's just these little things that we didn't know for sure. Ultimately, this park was built in 2021. It was 2.2 acres, and it cost about 2.3 per acre to build. One of the reasons I want to bring this up, this is a more expensive design because they were prioritizing that inclusivity. But I think we have found that in recent years, and I don't want to nail myself to the wall here, but we have found that on average, an acre park is about 1.5 million, and that makes a lot of people panic. But it's better that I'm saying it and we're starting to absorb it and recognize that there are some gives and takes and ups and downs than me not saying it and find that we're getting these RFPs or we are tasked by a developer to design parks that are like wildly under budget. And it puts us in a weird spot because we're like, well, you can't really program your whole space if you've only got this much, or you can't have as nice of features as you want, which is tough. Which is why I want to show some other examples. So this one is in Santa Clara. We worked, yes, question.
That's a loaded cost.
As a loaded cost. Okay. That was like all in, all done.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
We designed the park, or we worked with the system-wide master plan in Santa Clara. This park was identified as high priority because it was in an area that was lacking a lot of amenities, and this park was kind of falling apart and gnarly. People weren't really taking advantage of it. This was the initial stage. In the first round, they wanted to do this entire park, so everything you're seeing. In the second round, it kind of turned into just the playground. They're like, all right, so we can't really tackle everything. Let's do the playground. That's what the community needs. We were able to pour most of our budget in there. Then, because we had saved a little contingency and done some ad alternates when the bids came in, we had a little more than we expected, and were able to improve the perimeter path and also some of the entry parking elements as well. This park, I included some pictures, has some inclusive features. They did not want to do the poured in place because it's more expensive. They went with the bark, which does mean you have to refill it pretty frequently, especially to make sure it remains accessible at the ramp threshold. This one we just finished up this year, 1 acre, 3.2 million. So lots of play features. It's a pretty big play area. We didn't do anything crazy with the planting. There's nothing funny with irrigation. Like there's nothing that really is like, ooh, this is, you know, some top dollar park, but it's nice and it will look nice. We had a lot of outreach. This is what people wanted to see. This was a pre-approved play manufacturer that the city had worked with before. So we had some options that were less expensive, but they wanted to go with one that they knew so they could get replacement parts. If there were issues, they knew who to get in touch with. And it also has warranties and like a reputation, right? Because sometimes they can go out of business and then you're sort of stuck. The third example is hopefully familiar. So this is in San Ramon. This was previously Faria. So we'd been working on this project for ever, it feels like. So this, we worked on the community design. This was the initial park design. There actually wasn't a ton of change between that one and ultimately the drawing that we made our construction drawings from. It does have these play fields as well as a play structure amenity, and then some of these more formal rose garden areas. This park, according to our numbers, so, you know, I only know what I know, but what we know was that it was approximately 12.7 acres, 12 million. So this one was 1.05 per acre. So we talked a little bit about that. We're like, what's really the difference between the one in Santa Clara and the one here? So I think what our guesstimate is, when you got a bigger park, so you're working with 12 acres, your per acre cost is going to look like less. I think if we compared the playground to the playground, we're going to see something really similar. I think what ends up happening here is there's more open space, a field that's really just kind of lawn and irrigation, isn't that expensive to install. What I think is kind of the piece, just to task Kathy with more, but I think what would be interesting after this is to look at costs of parks maintenance, like in the long term, and look at those as a per acre, because I don't have that. We don't do physically the install or the maintenance, but I feel like that, I want to come to that presentation when we do that one. So then I had fun with my chat GPT and found some parks that weren't gates, but it's not always that easy to find the cost information and stuff. So if these feel a little random, I apologize, but these were what I could find. So Encinal Beach, this was finished in 2021, 4.5 acres, $1 million per acre. From what I could find, I actually was able to Google quite a bit on these. Some of them I went out to see them. This one is more trails, waterfront, some native planting. There's not a whole lot of intensity that feels like a formal recreational park. It's more of like a nature park. No play features, no interpretive signage. So it felt more minimal and kind of a connect with nature experience. Alameda Point is a waterfront project that was $15 million, and it was $5 million per acre. This is an award-winning park. I've seen this one in magazines. I have heard about it before. I remember being at a talk and them talking about the design for it, collaboration with artists and mimicking water patterns. Like, it was a really all-in kind of a legacy project, and it's an important element on Alameda Point, right? So we're talking about two pretty opposite ends of the scales. The Alameda Point one is quite programmed. They have a lot of dining areas. There's not formal play, but there's some natural like logs and stuff that you can play on. Really cultivated gardens, a lot of walkways, and it's a little more intense of a programmed area. And then just a couple more. The Sibley Volcanic Preserve, I wanted to do something sort of local, so this one's in Orinda. Also more of a nature park. It does have some interpretive signage. It was 1.2 per million. Has some of these cool rustic, it looks like they took some of the trees that were removed and repurposed them into benches, which is actually really expensive. I was very disappointed. We've tried to do that a couple times. That doesn't mean don't try it. I think people are getting better about milling and figuring out how to do that, but a couple times we've been like, we want to keep these trees on the park. And then also the West Oakland Farm Park. So this one does have a more intensified playground. It's a slightly expanded farm zone that they have the community cultivating things in. And the total for the 2 acres was 4.1 million. So about 2 million an acre. So I just wanted to show you guys kind of a scale of all these parks that are going on. And I think it's important to understand that range of costs. Don't like marry yourself to it, but know that a bigger park is going to have a little less cost per acre because it's not quite as intensified. And we find that the smaller ones with really cool play elements and a lot of interactive features are going to cost, I'd say at a minimum, like 1.5 an acre. So hopefully, I've kind of like teased some thoughts up. This is our ideal process. We love to pay attention to the planning, sort those costs and fees and stuff early. It allows everybody to write better proposals. We recently decided not to pursue a proposal in a project more Southern California because their budget was just so wildly, in our opinion, misaligned with what they were trying to design, right? So I think there are really some risks with not being realistic and mindful about what we're trying to do and the purpose it wants to serve. So I think what we're all doing is really important, and I think that those parks and recreation spaces are really not only intensified use in 2020, but like a backbone of community. And I think people are remembering how vital those are in our community. So making sure that we're allocating appropriate time and budget for them is really important, right? So I think all of this is meant to kind of set the stage for recognizing what you guys are doing and how important it is. And that is my final slide. So if you have any questions, let me know. Or if it leads to like future talks that might be helpful, let Kathy know and she can get in touch, and I can try to connect you guys with other people who might be able to get more specialized in certain areas as well.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
This is
Thank
really awesome.
you. Appreciate it.
So do we have any questions from commission? Anybody? No?
Interesting.
No? Okay. Any public comments? All right. Any comment from the commission? No. Awesome.
Awesome.
So, the director, Kathy, So we don't have any action, it is just a presentation for that,
Yes,
right?
just
Okay,
education.
all right. So Casey, really thank you.
Thank
Wanted
you,
to
guys. It was fun.
Thanks so
Thank
much
you
for
for
doing it.
having me. I appreciate it.
Interesting.
Oh, but wait.
Do I get a mug?
Oh my God, you get a travel mug.
Thank you, guys. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Let me know if I can do more.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was very good.
Sure wasn't your one?
All right, okay. So we move on to 7.2, tennis program survey results and program enhancements, presented by Michael Finelli, Parks and Community Service Recreation Supervisor. Thank you, Mike.
Good evening, Parks and Community Services Commissioners. Special welcome to new Commissioner Caney. Tonight, I'm going to be discussing tennis in our community. In regards to
There you go.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Keith. So tonight, I wanted to share the PowerPoint, which kind of aligns with the staff report that I'm sure everybody had the opportunity to take a look at. And what our objective this evening is to kind of go over some of the community feedback that we've received in regards to additional tennis programming opportunities. So our main objective, again, tonight is to receive feedback from the Parks Community Services Commission on utilizing tennis courts specifically for hosted tournaments, skill-based clinics, demographic-specific programs, and some form of private and/or semi-private lessons. So to gather some of the information and the topics we're going to discuss tonight, our staff worked in conjunction with our current contractors to brainstorm, evaluate how the past year went, and formulate some questions that we can engage the community with, specifically relating to tennis, use of the courts, current offerings, as well as any enhancements that, we're currently not providing. Some of the survey topics that our contractors suggested we investigate was specialized skill clinics, private lessons, and hosted tournaments. Over the course of the approximately 3-week survey, we received 480 responses. And I did want to mention, we do contract with 2 tennis program contractors, Aurora Fitness and Tennis. And I believe our instructor is here tonight, and also Bonacera Tennis. And these both organizations offer tennis classes for both youth and adults. We currently schedule the programming at Central Park, Athens Downs, Rancho San Ramon, and then both high schools, Doherty and California High School. So one of the main questions within the survey, we wanted to kind of see where the public's using the courts and where the percentages fell. We determined approximately 60% are using the courts at this time on drop-in play. 25% are offered through our city programming contracted instructors. And the last 15% is our brand new 90-minute reservations that residents now have the opportunity to reserve a court for a small fee. And that's specific to San Ramon residents only. In regards to the questions, some of the main topics, we had 84% of survey respondents indicate they would be in favor of some sort of a in-house or USTA hosted tournament at city facilities. We had 62% in favor of skill-based clinics, and 71% would be in favor of some form of a private lesson. So our proposal is to work with our contractors to determine a a program, a rollout that will introduce new offerings that the community is interested in, that we've identified, obviously via the survey. And in doing so, we want to make sure that we're really not interfering with that 60% drop-in play and also that 15% that we're reserving courts. So it's a little bit of a jigsaw puzzle, but our goal is to enhance and not disrupt what's currently going on. In terms of the development of the program, our initial step would be to introduce the hosted tournaments. This would be primarily by Aurora Tennis. We've worked with them, and there's two versions of how tournaments would be potentially held in San Ramon. The first being a in-house tournament, which registration would be open to the general public, and the reservation process would go directly through the city. Obviously, our recreation department, Civic Rec software. The second version of tournaments would be a USTA, United States Tennis Association tournament, where this is specific to registration running directly through Aurora, who would contract with USTA. These would also be open to non-USTA members. However, USTA members would receive certain qualification points for participation. And obviously, I would imagine that the level of play would be a little more intense than the in-house tournament. So there's options. And I guess the second step in the process would be to find the court space and the times to introduce private lessons by both of our contractors that are currently only providing, I guess it would be called group lessons. So again, I've already clarified how I would distinguish the different tournaments. The in-house would be a recreational tournament hosted by Aurora and registration again through the city. And the USTA tournaments for youth and adults would both be hosted by Aurora and USTA, however, at city facilities. So that's kind of how that model would work. Some of the survey feedback also was really, it drilled down to specific types of enhancements and programs based on demographics and also specific tennis skills. So what we learned was that there was a lot of interest in specific programming for women participation only, also 55 plus social tennis. And some of the specific skills that were identified within the survey were serving, hitting, doubles, footwork, and agility. In regards to the private lessons, there are two versions. Actually, there's three, because the first one we're offering now is more so not a private. It would be classified again as the group. The private lessons, there's a one-on-one training. So that would be just one student and one instructor. They classify semi-private as a 1-to-3 training, which would be up to 3 students still performing training under the one instructor. Again, the enhancements, the objective obviously is to not only increase the offerings within the tennis courts, but also generate additional revenue for the city. And we plan to work through our contractors to agree upon revenue sharing for any and all of these enhancements that we're going to roll out in different phases. And tonight, again, I just wanted to reiterate that we are simply seeking feedback on introducing these enhancements within our courts. And I can certainly take some questions if there are some.
All right, we're opening up for questions, clarifying questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good. Hit the button. We're good. Okay. Hey. So when you said a survey went out, who did the survey go out to?
The survey went out to San Ramon residents.
So all residents in general, not specifically toward those
No, we did have a
already
question.
involved in tennis or anything?
Correct. One of the questions was whether you're an active player, how frequently you use the courts, but we found that folks that didn't even actually play tennis were interested in completing the survey as well.
Oh, okay, all right. And I'm going to make the assumption youth is 16 and below and adults is 16 and above?
Correct.
Okay, all right, great, thank you.
Go ahead.
Mike, thanks for the information. Question, insurance, how's the insurance covered by?
Insurance is covered by the instructors.
So the third party owns insurance if anything happens, right?
Yes, we work with all contractors
Okay.
regardless. We'll cover.
And then how do we determine what the cut is, or what percent they get versus what we get?
We negotiate that annually. We've just signed new agreements for this current fiscal year with both of our contractors. Typically, we're in the range of about 50-50. They had some of the prior contracts deviated from that a little bit. However, as part of this project, we did recently reduce the percentage paid to the contractor, so that's another reason why we're trying to get creative in terms of trying to offset that as well as increase the city's portion of the revenue.
Okay, and then how do we measure the quality of service our contractors are providing the people who are paying?
Everybody that completes a program is sent a survey and all that data is collected. And that's one of the processes that we also do internally as staff at the end of each year is kind of evaluate what registration numbers look like, what survey data looks like. And this year we took it a step further by actually engaging the community in terms of saying what are we maybe missing.
Okay, and then the last question, Mike, and thanks for doing this, by the way. You said 2 tournaments a year. You mentioned just 2. What are your initial thoughts on the number of tournaments you would do?
It really depends. I don't think that would be more than maybe 1 per month because obviously we don't want to shut down a specific court or facility, but we take into effect that we do host swim tournaments at our aquatic centers. We host soccer tournaments. We have 9 fields this weekend we're using for that. So we see it aligned similarly.
Very familiar with soccer tournaments, by the way. I know how they work. So, okay. Thanks, Mike.
Sure.
Thank you. Let's go from there. Do
Okay.
you have any questions?
Sure. I'm curious about the statistics for the registration statistics for the classes that are currently being offered. Are they, does supply not meet demand? Are they overutilized? Like, how does that look? Just to give me an idea of kind of how things currently are.
We're just started brand new programming this summer, and I haven't evaluated the data yet, but I'd be more than happy to pull some of those numbers and take a look and see where we're at.
Okay.
I know that I know Jody here programs the courts, works directly with our contractors, and has a real good idea of what, is most prevalent in terms of, location and age.
Mm-hmm.
And I can certainly pull some of that data for you.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's an important piece of the puzzle here in terms of figuring out what we should add on top of what we're already doing. So I'd just like more information. Thank you.
Commissioner Osland?
Thank you, Mike. So a question I had was about the tournaments too, and I was looking at the peak play time, and during the week it's from 4 to 8 p.m. and then on the weekends it looks like it's kind of all day, 8 to 12, and then a little break in the middle of the day because it's probably hot, and then 4 to 8. So I guess I was just curious because that seems to be when everybody's wanting to go and play, would be on the weekend. What are some thoughts around having a tournament and meeting the needs of the drop-in players?
No, I understand. I do want to preface the tournament would just be held at one exclusive facility, so we wouldn't take multiple facilities offline for that. So at this point, we would just hope that the folks that, enjoy that brand of tennis would prioritize their weekends using that.
Okay.
But again, we haven't really dug too deep in terms of what it looks like, how frequent, how many hours, but I would anticipate just initially looking at it and speaking with the contractors, it sounds like a Saturday and Sunday, all day type of activity.
And which facilities would you be looking at?
We targeted initial conversations Doherty Valley High School.
Okay. And then the other question that I had, it looked like in the survey, what skill level is important to you? And it looked like the adult intermediate and the adult beginners, along with the youth beginner, seemed to be kind of the most popular who filled out the survey. So I'm just wondering where the tournament piece might fit in with this data.
The youth, the way the tournament option was presented, it would not only be exclusive for adults. We would host some version or format of a youth participation as well. Obviously, that would be two versions of that, a more so beginner or an in-house player or a more advanced USTA. So we felt that maybe we were capturing both audiences in the same boat when we do host these tournaments.
Okay. And I think the other question that I had was about the offering the 55 plus and then the special demographic for the women. Just curious about what kind of, what other communities are doing that and what kind of turnout that they have. Do you have any data on that?
Yeah, I don't have that offhand, and that's one of the.
Looks like
Jody does.
So, I'm Jody, by the way. Just to speak on that question, it did come up in our survey. We had a handful of women who actually reached out after the survey came in, and there are 3 other cities in the Northern California area that they presented to me that do 55 and over. Danville and Hayward are the 2 closest ones. Danville's hasn't really been going as strong. Hayward has a pretty large following. They typically do it during the week. It's usually 2 days per week, like 2 to 3 hours per day, Monday, Wednesday, or a Tuesday, Thursday. And it's kind of presented where they come and they only play doubles, and it's more of a social play. So they come and it's almost like they play games against each other, but there's an instructor out there that helps them with skill sets that they are not strong at or they're struggling with, and give them pointers, but then they're out there just playing tennis and having fun and making a social gathering.
Okay.
But yeah, so Hayward has a pretty big following on that. And then I believe San Jose has one, but I don't know the specifics on what their program looks like.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm just going by the list. Next is Commissioner Corney.
Mr. Chair. Mike, good job. Just one quick question. I'm wondering if Aurora has any other experience with other cities, municipalities, and how that agreement arrangement has worked for those cities. If you have any specifics in regard, particularly in regards to revenue and revenue sharing.
Did you want to come up?
So specifically with Aurora, they work with Danville, San Ramon, Dublin, and then they also own Livermore Tennis Club?
It was called Livermore Valley Tennis Club. Now it's called the Club at Livermore.
There you go. And so right now, Akshay, Aurora, he negotiates all of their revenue sharing contracts. And our understanding is they're anywhere from a 50-50 to a 60-40 split with each of the individual agencies.
All right. Next is Commissioner Lopez Lucy.
Well, thank you. I had wondered on the tournament, since you read through all this information with lots of information that you have to go through, and you were then tonight saying you would probably have a tournament every month.
We really haven't set the framework for that, but I know that if it turned out to be successful, we would never think of doing anything more than once a month. That would probably be the maximum. But obviously, rolling something out like this initially, if it turns out to be a success, maybe biannually would be a great start for the next 12 months.
You'd have to try it out and see.
For sure, absolutely.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions, Mike. First of all, great presentation. both of you, and Aurora, Akshay, right? Okay. So you said that, so I was going through all 279 feedback there, 70 something. So on that, many of them, they said, we need more tennis courts. We need more tennis courts. We need more time. We need to do that. Tournament is a great avenue to not only for revenue, but also a great, it can create a buzz, right, in the city-wise on that. And you said we are going to keep in mind that we are not disrupting anybody who drops in another. Any plan, any thought about how do we balance that if we are doing one tournament per month?
Yeah, we initially, I think what our goal was like you just said, to kind of create that buzz in the community, bring high skill tennis here, and also, again, be cognizant of the 60% data that we pulled and that's using the courts on a drop-in basis. So we're confident that with, I believe we have 26 public courts. Mm-hmm. So if we were to take one offline, maybe one time every quarter of the year, there's obviously pros and cons, but we've kind of looked at both sides of that equation. And that's definitely something we wanted to take into consideration as in addition to whatever recommendations we received tonight to move forward, to not just roll all this stuff out at one time, like incrementally see what it looks like, some sort of version of a pilot program before it's just fully blown programming, and we're potentially impacting that 60%.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, there are pros and cons on both sides. Okay.
Yeah.
So with that, one of the things I think we need to keep in mind is that people are able to check multiple boxes of what they use the courts for or what they desire, right? So just because they checked drop-in play does not mean they also check that they desire to use it for tournaments. And so if we were able to do tournaments, whether that's youth or adult or in-house versus USTA, it doesn't mean that they're exclusive, right? Drop-ins can also play tournaments. So if they sign up for a tournament, then the desire on that day, that particular weekend for drop-in may actually go down, right? So they're saying they're interested in both potentially. And so that's one thing to keep in mind. The other thing we have to keep in mind is just like with swim meets, they go to, for at least the USTA tournaments, they go to a bid meeting. Just because they go to the meeting and they say, I want one a month, it doesn't mean they get one a month. They may get one of 3 choices, right? So we may be granted a tournament in March. And we are looking at a window of like late spring through fall, simply because we don't really want to deal with the rainy weather. So we're looking for not 12 months a year. He has Livermore to offer tournaments year-round out there, right, at that facility. So we're looking for a shorter period of time in which they would come up. Yes, we may be granted 1, maybe 2 USTA tournaments that would be open predominantly to youth. Then we have 2 other options. Do we offer a rec-style tournament? So think of the in-house tournaments like a rec swim team swim meets, right? The competition level may be lower. It feels more able to be participated in by someone that's never been in a tournament before versus jumping right into a USTA tournament. So we have various options, and depending on which ones work or which ones don't work, we have to try that out to see what the community really wants and what they want to participate in. So like Mike said, this first year, if we get the go-ahead, is really kind of feeling it out. What is the community, let Akshay go to the bid meeting and see what we can get, and then we kind of build around that and see where we can go. So we're saying maybe 1 a month, but it would be maybe an in-house versus a USTA versus an adult tournament. So we're trying to serve various facets of people's desire for tournaments. So we're hoping to hit different demographics by offering different tournaments.
Got it. Thank
Does
you.
that help?
Yeah, thank you. I do have a couple of questions, and then Commissioner Dolish and one question.
Sure.
Few comments were like, again, I'm not asking for an answer here. I'm just asking that if we keep that in mind. Is a few comments were extending the light beyond 10 o'clock. Somebody even said for 11 o'clock, 10:30 on that. Are we considering that? Again, I'm not asking for I'm not looking for an answer right away. I'm just saying that.
No.
And the last one is revenue. Have we done any sort of revenue projection plan or anything at this point, or is it too premature at this point?
It's very premature, but it definitely would be not exactly maybe what we're doing with the annual contract, but it's very similar to something like that. And again, I think it would be contingent on how much leeway we have to do this and the success of any registration numbers. So it's without, I think our initial goal is to just here tonight is to see if we have the go-ahead to start the investigation on some of this stuff, and then that would build the framework in terms of scheduling, frequency, and essentially land on that revenue.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Dolish?
You know, we do have competing racket sports going on in the city between tennis, pickleball, and badminton. And we've already converted one tennis court, or in the process of converting one tennis court into pickleball. And, you know, the original proposal was to, you know, see how that goes and then, you know, see what the demand is. So we have 26 tennis courts now because one went away. I mean, how are we balancing the obvious demand for tennis with the obvious and growing demand for pickleball? I mean, and how do we see this, a program like this, you know, kind of adapting to, you know, maybe 2 or 3 more courts over the next 3 to 5 years getting converted to pickleball?
Want some help? Well, the one thing
I
I
like
can,
the idea of the tournaments because it does bring, you know, more enthusiasm. We've got the cricket tournaments that are going on in the Tri-Valley. So, you know, there's a lot of interest in that. And eventually, if we go outside, like the cricket tournament does, outside of the city or the region and start getting, you know, a different focus, you know, it could be something good for the hotels and, you know, other areas. So it's always good to, you know, start that kind of program. But we do have this plan or demand for conversion, and just was seeing how that might fit together.
well, the question I think I heard you ask was in relationship to the number of tennis courts. So I did want to clarify for the commission that when we converted the one Central Park court into 4 pickleball, we did not lose any tennis courts because Sunrise Ridge has a tennis court. So we maintained the existing level of tennis courts and got the 4 pickleball. In addition, there are some future developments that we are looking at bringing more pickleball courts to. So I do not have a plan or anticipate a flip in the near future of more of the Central Park courts. So to answer your number question, there, just a little bit of editorial on this. There is a demand for pickleball and there is a demand for tennis. But that being said, it's cyclical. So we see the demand for tennis go up in this fall season as the light starts to go. Then all of a sudden, people who have been playing in the summer and having a great time playing till 9 o'clock on some of the courts without lights, all push onto the courts with lights. And we always see it. It happens every fall. Everybody's really crowded. And then as the rainy season, they stop playing tennis, and then we get this slow climb. So we haven't had any complaints on number of tennis courts for most of the spring or summer, but we know that we'll start this now. So I don't know if that answered your question in regards to the courts.
No, I mean, we had plans, if the pickleball courts were successful, to, you know, look at creating more
Yes.
pickleball courts.
And we
So-
do have plans, but not
Yeah.
at Central Park.
No, okay, or are they more plans of construction rather than conversion?
Correct.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Any other question? Oh,
Along that line, I was thinking kind of the same thing, that it's not just tennis, there's pickleball and badminton. And we might want to think about maybe having different kinds of tournaments with these net sports. So not just tennis. So I just wanted to put that out there that, you know, tennis, because of USTA, yes, great. You know, we offer the training programs already. We've got partners. But I'm thinking that there's opportunity here to maybe test pilot with the tennis and then look at the other racket sports and model some future tournaments with those as well.
Sure, great suggestion, and obviously that would help with the equity and, you know, of court utilization.
Exactly, equity, so.
all right. Do we have any public comments, Madam Clerk? We do not. So, okay, let's go on to any comments. Maybe we can start from there, from the right side.
Okay. Thank you. No, it was a great presentation, Mike.
Thank you.
I guess my feeling is that I would like to know more about how the current classes that we offer are being utilized before we go all in on, you know, clinics or tournaments. I do think though that staff is not saying we should go all in on one of those. I know that this is a mixed approach and kind of just to sort of build the framework and kind of see what the response is and go from there. And I think the survey does show that there's demand for pretty much all of these options. So I think it would be difficult to go wrong. I do think maybe the tournaments should be offered as a trial, you know, a few just to see what the demand is for that. I do think the focus, though, of public tennis courts really should be drop-in play or classes or clinics offered by the city rather than organized tournaments. That's just my personal feeling. I know that may not be a view shared by everyone, but that's kind of how I feel about this issue.
Appreciate that.
Well, I've never played tennis in my life, so I don't know a lot about tennis, but with reading all of this, I too think I would have some serious thought about, you know, the private lessons and all, that we should really look at that, because there were some comments there. And I think in tournaments, I think I would probably start with the recreation first and see how that goes, and then maybe from that you would go to the other tournament. But I don't know that I'd have one a month. I would think that would be too much to start with, but I'm sure that you're trying things, so you'll take that into consideration. But thank you for answering, because I had a lot of questions, but you answered them in your presentation, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Dowledge?
Oh, okay. I just thought of a question, but I hadn't had one before. But I know there are some private courts that are also, you know, within the city. Has there ever been, regarding tournaments, perhaps at some of the, you know, the private HOA-based courts for, you know, a day?
I don't have that information offhand, but I can certainly look into that. And I think as we start the planning process, that would be something we'd want to take a good look at and see if we're competing with somebody on a specific date, or, you know, we don't want to do multiple offerings within the same vicinity, so.
Yeah, but I mean, there might be a court to be utilized for the tournament to the point that leaving, you know, more of the city ones open for drop-in, you know, to, you know, maybe kind of leverage that.
Sure.
All right. Commissioner Britt?
Okay, Mike, I love it. So here's what I'll tell you, because everything you're doing, we did in soccer, so I kind of know what you're up against on a lot of this stuff. But I think, first of all, we need to step back, and I'm kind of with Kyle, and say, okay, you know, what's the objective of the public courts, and if they're fully utilized or not fully utilized. So how do we communicate effectively if we do go down this route, which I think we absolutely should look at, and absolutely do, and make sure that, you know, it's available. And as I step back, you know, if we offer a lesson or if we offer tournaments, when we do our fees, we have residents and non-residents. You know, do we look at that type of structure as we go forward, so we're favoring residents as we go through? Even if you look at, I just brainstorming, even if you did a tournament, do you like, because like our tennis team at Doherty Valley was like top tennis team in the state, right? So how do we offer, maybe City of San Ramon tennis tournament where we get, more players? We're leveraging the public courts and offering, a tournament within the city, something prideful, so we drive pride in the city.
Certainly.
And the other big thing is we're sitting there thinking about, how do we, as a department, can we generate some fees that helps some of the issues we're having from a city standpoint, but while also offering, and to your point with 26 courts, while offering, the courts for free. So I do like where we're headed with this and with the lesson. The thing where I struggle, I'm not super thrilled with the 50-50 split. I mean, in soccer, we had a much better split with our third party, but it's not my role to negotiate that. I just, for what the work that has to be done, it's a win for the third party. And the other thing is I think we need to be able to evaluate the third party. How do we drive them accountable? From cleanup to, the whole deal. And then if we're paying them that much, what are we getting for it? And then, especially when we're doing lessons, are they insured? Have they done all the sexual harassment stuff? If we go down that road, so we're making sure we're checking all the check marks for all that stuff. So I'd want to make sure with all that's really fine tuned before we offer. And then if we do go private lessons, how do we provide it at a cost that's, amenable, that's reasonable for someone to go do it, because I think there'll be a demand. So I know that's a lot, because I read through this, I thought about it, and I'm a big believer. You guys are trying to come up with something different. How do we, kind of help the city a little bit, and then also leverage every asset we have and make them really productive? So I'm absolutely all in favor for this, as long as we, do it. Think what Kyle said in the beginning is, how do we make sure that we have them public courts available for people who want to do it? But to your point, I'll take Doherty Valley, which is perfect. So I like it.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Commissioner Osler?
Thank you again. I really don't have much more to add, other than I concur with Commissioner Breed and Commissioner Levy about this and the money piece of it.
Sure.
But I also want us to take a look at the other racket sports too, as possible future tournament fun. So, and really looking at how we can leverage, a lot of promotion within the city to get people to shop and buy and get their pizzas, and, really like to create a buzz around it. And maybe that's like we just do it, tennis once or twice a year, and pickleball once a year, and badminton once a year. So it's 4 times a year, and then that's it, and there's a buzz around it. So that would be my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cohn?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Good job. Hope the family's well. I think it's a great proposal. I think it's a nice balanced approach. You're looking at, trying to offer people opportunities to increase their skills, but also give them an opportunity to compete. Granted, it's not quite like, a baseball or soccer or basketball tournament where it's not going to bring in as many people. But I think as Commissioner Osland said, that it's an opportunity for us to not just increase revenue from a revenue sharing standpoint, but also to bring people to our great city and have them spend money. So, and I would assume that this is just us putting our toe in the water, and then pickleball is going to, for sure, no doubt, it will follow. I'm convinced of that. And in fact, we have a young lady in our community who does graphics for the National Pickleball Association in Texas, and who graduated from Cal High. And so, it's I think it's a great approach. I like that you're taking a balanced approach to this. So, worth exploring.
Excellent.
Thank you, Mike and staff, for doing the really good survey and the presentation on that. I think most of the comment I wanted to have is already been said, so I'm not going to repeat that, but touch base on a few things that I already said. Going through all the comments, there are some resentment feeling that things are taken away. Things are taken away from the tennis to pickleball, and now the tournament is going to take away stuff on that. So I would really request to be mindful on that one. That's number one. Number two is personal feeling. Once a month, little too many for me.
Okay.
I would rather go with the suggestions that we can have other tournaments as well, so that we can cater other people with that buzz we created, right?
Sure.
Tennis, pickleball, badminton, whatever. So we continuously have something going on. It's a revenue generating, so city is not losing anything, but at the same time, we are catering not just one set of people, one set of residents, we're catering the residents who are very passionate about pickleball or badminton. We know other two also have a substantial number of people doing that and playing that. So that will be my suggestion as well, considering that not just one tournament, I completely go with that. Maybe you can have once a month, but at least different tournaments.
Sure.
Different things. That might be. That way, I think this tennis is taken away, or some things are taken away from tennis. I think that things will be mitigated on that through that as well as revenue-wise, we are not going to lose because we are going to have a same cadence of tournaments going on.
Yeah, understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I could just take a second to maybe summarize some of the feedback I've received. Commissioner Levy, we're going to follow back and take a look at how our current classes are being utilized and make sure that there's no overlap with anything that maybe we would be rolling out. Commissioner Lucy Lopez, I understand the concern for, again, one per month may be a little excessive at first. We'll be cognizant of that. And also take a good look at how we would roll out the tournaments, emphasizing rec tournaments initially. Commissioner Durlick, the possibility of leasing private courts for hosted tournaments in San Ramon. Certainly, we can look into that. Commissioner Breed, I wanted to thank you for your comments in terms of prioritizing San Ramon residents on the courts, and I did want to follow up with you on that, as that's part of our paid registration programming is exclusive for San Ramon residents only. So we're aligned with that train of thought. Thank you. Commissioner Oslin, I'm on board with leveraging the tournaments to bring folks to the city and also look at the equity of spreading the sports across. Yeah. And Commissioner Caney, thank you for your comments as well in terms of showcasing our beautiful city and providing additional offerings. So I think I have a very good understanding on how we could potentially move forward. Again, it's going to be collaboration between our staff and our contractors, and it's our plan is really, it's not going to go 0 to 100. It's a gradual step by step until we see and evaluate exactly what's going on and how we can best utilize the courts with keeping in mind our other sport users and also our residents that value being able to just drop in and play.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we don't have any motion or anything. It is just a presentation, right? Okay, that's wanted to confirm. So, Mike, did you get everything? You guys got everything?
Got all
that
my
you got?
notes. Thank you very much,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. So moving on to 7.3, Art Advisory Committee recommendation presented by Brad Morris, Park and Community Services Division Manager.
Good evening, Commissioners. At this point, we'd like to move forward some recommendations for our 2 vacant Art Advisory Committee positions. The Parks and Community Services Commission recommends Aksha Shakil to serve as the alternate number 1 on the Arts Advisory Committee with a term to expire in March 2026, and Robert Mazer to serve as the alternate number 2 on the Arts Advisory Committee with the term to expire in March 2025. The Arts Advisory Committee consists of 7 regular members with 2 alternates that serve 2-year terms. These positions are usually appointed to the City Council in March, and at that point, we didn't have a full committee, and so we had the 2 vacancies of the alternates. The city clerk's office went out for these 2 vacancies just recently, and we ended up getting 4 applications for those 2 vacancies. An ad hoc committee for the Parks and Community Services Commission, consisting of Commissioner Breed and Dorlick, interviewed these applications on Wednesday, July 31st, and are recommending the appointment of those 2 individuals for their terms. And at this point, I bring it forward to you for approval. And if approved, then we'll move it to the City Council at their next meeting.
So moved.
Second.
button.
Oh, sorry.
All right. So we got all these things. It's approved, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right, moving on to 7.4, 2024-25 committee and liaison assignments presented by our director, Henman.
So at your place, I believe you have a copy of the liaison assignments. Chair Mitra took all of the feedback that you provided.
We don't
have it.
Oh, Kathy, the copy of the liaison assignments? Oh, all right, well, then I'm going to read them to you, and then we're going to email them out. So I'm so sorry, I thought we had that at your place. That's no problem. So in any case, Chair Mitra took all your feedback and put these together, and so let me just kind of go through them quickly. So the Policy Finance Committee Chair would be Commissioner Dorlick, and the two commissioners on the Policy Finance would be Commissioner Breed and Commissioner Lopez-Lucy. You're good at it. The Facilities Committee would be the chair of Julia Osland, with the Commissioner Levy and Commissioner Caney in the other roles. And the Programs Committee would have the chair of Commissioner Mitra, and Commissioner Breed and Commissioner Levy would be the other two commissioners on that. Then in relationship to the Arts Advisory Committee, Commissioner Dorlick would be the primary and Commissioner Mitra would be the alternate. For the City Council meeting, the Commissioner Osland would have the second meeting and Commissioner Breed would have the fourth meeting.
Second week.
Second meeting, sorry, yeah, second week. I said,
Do you have the first and the second?
thank you. Yes, sorry about that, I just read that wrong. The EDAC, Economic Development Advisory Committee, would be Commissioner Levy, with no alternate. The Library Advisory Committee would be Commissioner Caney, with the alternate of Commissioner Levy. The Planning Commission would be Commissioner Mitra, with Commissioner Caney as an alternate. The Senior Advisory Committee meeting would be Commissioner Lopez-Lucy with Commissioner Osland as an alternate. Teen Council would be Commissioner Levy with Commissioner Dorlick as an alternate. And the Field User Steering Committee would be Commissioner Breed. And the Open Space Advisory Committee would be Commissioner Osland as the primary with Commissioner Lopez-Lucy as the alternate. So I will email that out to everyone. Does anybody need a repeat on that? I'm so sorry. I can also pass this down if that would help you to be able to glance at it.
Just a question.
Yes.
Is there an economic development committee? I thought it had been disbanded.
Yeah, I thought disbanded too.
That's what I thought too, but I wasn't going to stop reading because I had a name attached
Okay.
to it, so.
I don't think it's officially disbanded yet.
Okay, because it never met last year.
Yes.
It did a couple times, but yeah.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
think it's still on the table.
Okay.
It is on the list there.
But the Information Solutions one, they finally axed.
They did, but it's,
Technology?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
It's a question. I mean, it's important to note that if anybody wanted to go to any of these, they can, correct, when they meet?
Yeah, the only issue you have is if you have more than one commissioner in the room, you need to be a little aware of that, because if you get 2 or 3 commissioners in a room, you start moving into Brown Act violations if you're discussing, and if the information comes forward to the full commission. So, one there is fine, 2 is okay, 3 is a problem. Let's just start to go that way. Is that a good rule of thumb? All right, does anyone need that repeated? I'll pass this down. And then we'll get that out in the email to you right away.
Yeah, we're good.
all right.
Do you want us to initial next to our names?
No, if anybody had any problem with the assignment, please let me know, and we can get that sorted out.
Okay, cool.
Okay, all right. Moving on to the staff report. Recreation maintenance. Is it that, did I miss anything?
No. Passing my paper.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, staff report by recreation maintenance by our director, Kathy Henman.
Yeah, so you have your rec report in your packet, and it's a pretty hefty one. Summer's a busy time for us, so there are lots and lots of exciting things on there from our staff who won the lifeguard games, which we always love. I'd love to draw your attention also to the great summer programs at Crow Canyon Gardens. The nature camp out there really took off this year. The big hit was our Wilderness Survival Week. They had to add a second one. They had so many people interested in that. But they did things that I've never seen them do at the camps before. They had brome grass seed porridge. They learned about water filtration, how to do that with a water bottle. I've seen them do hand-churned ice cream before. But there's some great pictures. So there's a great little article in there on that I suggest you look at. Also, as long as we were talking about tennis, if you flip all the way to the end, you'll see the Public Services Department redid the Athen Downs tennis court lights.
Yep.
And that was not a planned expenditure, so they had to scramble around and try and figure out how to do that. But it needed to be done. When you see the pictures, it was a necessity. So the good news is those lights now are beautiful, working fabulously, and are a lot better than they were before. So that's also increasing ability to use those courts for people. And then lastly, I got to draw your attention to the Alcosta Senior and Community Center dishwasher. And now this seems like such a small thing, but our staff really work in concert with Public Services on some of these projects. And so Public Services wanted to get us away from all the paper usage, right? We want to go no more paper. We want to do reusable. That's better for the environment. That's what we should be doing. So Public Services said, hey, if you can figure out how to get a dishwasher in here, we'll help you pay for it. Well, between Parks and Community Services and Public Services, they got a grant from the California Department on Aging for $11,682, which paid for the industrial dishwasher, and then Public Services figured out how to install it for us, and so we got it all done. And so that's just kind of exciting because things like dishwashers, sometimes we think, oh, get a giant grant for, a big thing, but sometimes it's the simple things and a little thing. But it took some effort and coordination to do it. So there's a nice article on that. So is there anything anybody has questions on that I might be able to answer?
I do. I have a simple question, I'm sure. But what is pinch, things that they made over at the farm, what are pinch pots?
It's when you have clay and they're like moldable finger clay.
Yeah.
They call it a pinch pot because the way that the clay goes together, you pinch it with your fingers.
Okay.
I believe that's how that works.
Okay, I just didn't know what they were. And then on the facilities and on the athletic fields, I wanted to know what is the status on getting sponsors for the fields? Like we said, we're for signs around or whatever. Have we made any progress on that?
We really haven't. It has not been the highest priority for us right now. We've spent a lot of time with trying to do the budgets and the budget cuts, and we don't have a lot of staff resources. We haven't been able to fill our open full-time position because it's been frozen. So with that challenge of moving everybody around, we're just a little short on time and effort. So in order to really pursue that with great gusto, I know May has done some, but we haven't gotten any big bites. But to really chase after something like that, we have to dedicate time. And we just haven't quite found that staff time yet. But it's definitely on the list of things we'd like to pursue.
Okay, and my other one was because on the Mudge Restaurant and the vandalism, what is the status on that? I mean, are we moving along on that? I mean, that's not priority, I know, but still, this is going to happen all the time, apparently. We're going to have vandalism out there more and more.
We had the kickoff just last week with the consultants who are building the actual plan. So what you reviewed originally was the concept plan, and now that's narrowing down into an actual phased plan. When we have funding available, so once we get the phases, they'll be brought to the commission. I think that's scheduled in October right now. And then, once we get that situated, then we'll start the demolition and then the construction, hopefully, of at least the first phase. We don't have enough money to do the entire project.
Right.
But that's why we'll be bringing it back to the commission to talk about how we phase it and what the commission sees as the more important elements to bring forward earlier in the process versus later. For example, do we do the demolition and the structure and not the parking lot? Or do we do the path? Do we do the parking lot? So they're bringing it all together, and you'll be able to weigh in what you believe to be in the best interest of the city.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Commissioner Dolly?
No.
You're not? Yeah. All right. Commissioner Braid?
Hey, Kathy, I just wanted to call out, it's not a question, it's a comment, that I was reading about the light replacement, that they did it for $30,000. In comparison to installing completely new LED, the system would cost us $150,000. So, I mean, that's, as we think about using sorry, I'm working all week, with using the city's resources really a lot is awesome. So I think that's a really important point to call out and thank our city for doing that. And more importantly, one other question is, are we hitting our fee, since now I'm back on this committee, are we hitting our goals on fees on track to deliver our projection on the fees for
I
all
got
that
you. You're
stuff?
asking where are we at in our
Yeah.
revenue projections. And there's a delay in the deposits, so we don't always get our reports as immediately as you might think that we would. But from what we're seeing for our camps, we can tell some of that. But we're still tabulating summer, which is our big season.
Yeah.
And it really just literally ended on Friday. So we'll have a much better picture once we get into October, and that's when you'll be getting your summer kind of update. And so then we'll have a better picture of where we're at.
It'd be great if we can add it back in this report, and then, as I read the Camp 950, it sounds like it's super successful, but I don't know if it's successful. We had 900, 350 people. It'd just be helpful if you had a comparison to say, hey, we had more people, less people as we do this, go along, right? Just some feedback.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Any other question, anybody on this topic? No. Okay, so let's move on to item number 9, Commission Liaison Report and Announcements. We'll start from here. Commissioner Osland. Terry, we'll get you next time.
Me first?
Yes.
Oh, boy, where do I start? I'll start with the Open Space Advisory Committee that met on July 15th. We had it was a pretty general meeting. Our committee business was the San Ramon Urban Space Open Space Inventory infographic. So we're working on creating sort of a standalone sheet. So when we are at events, we can have some kind of high-level facts for what people are looking for in open space. And the other thing we talked about was just getting feedback from the Art and Wind Festival. We did not have a meeting in June, so our July meeting recapped that. So that was open space. And then City Council meeting, first meeting was last night of the month of August, and that was the 13th. Their new business, they received, well, actually, I'm going to give you the special presentations. Proclamation recognizing the San Ramon Valley Islamic Center and the San Ramon American Muslim community for their contributions to the San Ramon community was presented. Proclamation declaring August 21st, 2024 as National Senior Citizens Day. And then we had a proclamation declaring August 31st, 2024 as International Overdose Awareness Day. And then the City Council received a presentation from the Contra Costa Community College District on the state of the district. The new business included planning, project year in review. So you can imagine how busy planning has been this past year, and just hearing Lauren Barr present was just like, oh my gosh, all the things that they've done. So I'll just give you a high level general plan 2040 update. They did that. They also developed clear design standards. They had the general plan annual report. They reviewed orchards, the Chevron Park project, Iron Horse had the Iron Horse Village Development Project, the Chang Residential Development Project, which also got pushed out. And what's under construction for planning is the City Village, which I know we are all aware of, up the street here, and then Belmont Village. And then they had some revisions with the fire district facility. Then, what's in building planning, plan check right now is there is a group of townhomes on Deerwood, the City Walk BR1A Apartments facility. There's the TTLC townhouses on Deerwood, City Center Hotel, and on and on and on. And El Nido Assisted Living, San Ramon Valley Apartments. And then there's one last category, which was the past approvals construction to be determined, which was the Morgan's Masonry site, Marketplace mixed use, and the Wildflower Townhouse project, and the City Center Hotel. So planning has been super busy, and it's just amazing this past year, all the things that they accomplished. So that was last night's City Council meeting.
Thank you. Next is our
Yes,
Vice Chair.
I actually got this up. So I was, Commissioner Levy asked me to sub for the Library Advisory Committee. It's super exciting. So they reviewed the hours of operation. We all saw that presentation on the reduction. We voted on the new storybook selection, Storywalk selection, with the choice of Mr. S or the Leaf Thief. Very new. Who do you think? The Leaf Thief. Who do you think won? Anyone want to take a guess?
Leaf thief?
That's my vote. I would have voted for it anyways. Mr. S took it running away, actually. So, and it's a little fun factoid. Mr. S is about the first day of school. Some children show up. There's a kindergartners. There's a sandwich on the whatchamacallit on the desk. And
Running away, huh?
yeah, Mr. S doesn't show up to teach, so they think Mr. S is a sandwich. So I will not spoil the ending, but super exciting. It's like Kyle gets all the fun committees, right? So anyways, and then the other cool thing was two more cool things. One, they do a standard. So we have standards for the library from 2014, meaning for how many chairs we need, how many outlets we need per the population. So the library committee reviewed the standards, and I think they want to update them a little bit, but what all libraries should have. And the last thing is the librarians for our Doherty Station and the main library, right, Brad? Shared. It's really cool in the packet, but all the stuff that goes on at the library, like there's every week they're doing something different to engage the community on different things within the library. So I was going to print off the list, but you guys can pull it down and read it. And then the last thing, I just want to recognize, well, first of all, Terry, welcome. We're pumped you're here, by the way. But Commissioner Dorlick and I spent some time interviewing Arts Advisory. And, Will did a great job, but that's the other thing. Will and I spent some time. It was a lot of fun, actually. So, right? So that's it. That's all I got.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Hal.
Okay, Commissioner Dorlich?
It wasn't Mr. S, but it was a good time. Yeah.
I did too.
I almost forgot that we actually did have an Arts Advisory Committee meeting last month. Obviously, no teen council. And we had our annual presentation, which is always edifying and enjoyable, from Judy Parquette of Venue Tech, talking about the management of the theaters. That's always fun. And we had a art gallery program update from Reed Thomas regarding that, just the art galleries, the time, the number of exhibits, et cetera, et cetera. So, and I think it's, what are we, in August? So it's not this meeting, but it's the September meeting. That is the kind of cap of the year, with the capstone of the year, because we get the artist submissions and review all the artists for the galleries for the coming calendar year. But that was it, and we're having 2 performances this year. Yeah, so we've got one already scheduled in November, and then the second one is, I guess, unannounced, but is coming in the calendar 25. All right, that was the Arts Advisory Committee meeting for July 17th, 2024.
Thank you. Commissioner Lopez-Lucy?
Well, I attended the senior, Costa Senior Community Center for the seniors, and the speaker was Jennifer Coons, who is the executive director of Belmont Village. And I did pass out a pamphlet for each of you, not meaning that you need to go there right now. But I thought you might have a friend that maybe would be interested in looking at it, because I didn't think I wanted to go there right now either. But anyway, it was very interesting that they have 1 and 2 bedrooms. They have assisted living. They have housekeeping. They have, assistant people with, if you have an assistant living, you would have a shower and someone helping you dress and chairs to get, to specific places in the community. So you can start there by being healthy, and then if you get a little bit ill, you can go to the next step, which is a little bit more expensive, and then you can go to the assisted living, which is quite more expensive naturally, that would be. They have transportation 7 days a week. They have a fitness center. They have a pool. They have therapy. They have a screening, a theater, and and they have a library, and they have a book club. They have a sports lounge, and they have a courtyard, and Pete's Coffee is there.
Wow.
And they have 28 to 30 items on a choose for food that you can have, like a grab and go like. So those are some of the highlights, and they are taking reservations now, and they are taking deposits. You have a $5,000 deposit that is refundable if you don't proceed with taking one of the places. And you have to be 65 minimum age to live there. So that was that, whatever. And then she went on with different things. But it sounded that they really had quite a few things covered there that you might not realize. And that of course, is the building across from the Civic Center there on Bollinger. So anyway, I thought she passed those out. I thought that you might have information.
Good information. Yeah.
So that was the biggest thing. And of course, September is the senior month, so they're going to have items to honor seniors. And honoring seniors, they're going to have the observance of National Senior Center Month, sponsored by the National Institute of Senior Centers. And they are, the city of San Ramon dedicated the opening of the Al Costa Senior and Community Center on April 11th, 1992. So you don't realize how fast time goes. So they have, the center offers senior nutrition programs, and I know that they will very much enjoy the dishwasher there, because they've wanted that for so long, I know. And they're working on continue the transportation to and from the center for services for those, and you only have to be 55 to get those at the senior center, so that's a little lower. So they will have the celebration of the National Senior Center Month will culminate with the annual Senior Live Well Resource Fair, which will be held on September 26, 1:30 to 4 p.m. So you were all invited that you can attend that, because there will be a lot of 30 or 40 people that they will go there that give health and other information to.
What day is that?
That is September Yeah, it's on September 26th
Oh, 26th.
at 1:30 to 4 p.m. Now, I'm not quite sure what September the 26th, what day that is.
It's a Thursday.
But I think it's a Thursday.
It is a Thursday.
Yeah, so, and then they're going to have a goal setting from some of the people on the committee to set some new goals, because then they'll be starting to make the program for the presentation that we will receive and then go on to the city council. So they are busy.
Thank
That's
you.
my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Levy?
Sure. As Commissioner Breed already said, he did me a solid favor and covered the Library Advisory Committee meeting in July, which I'm delighted that he enjoyed himself so much. That's wonderful. Yeah, it is. It really is. It's a great committee. The thing I did cover was the second city council meeting of July, back several weeks ago, July 23rd. There were two main items of business on the agenda. One was confirming the unpaid fees and fines due to the Building and Safety Services Division, confirming the outstanding ones of those, holding a public hearing about that assessment, and then forwarding that list to the county assessor for inclusion on the tax rolls. So that was the first item. And then the other one was the city council considering whether to put on the November ballot a measure to increase the sales tax in San Ramon by 1% per dollar, or 1% for a period of 10 years, and all the provisions and steps that come with that. The city council did decide to do that. That was approved unanimously, and it's definitely an important issue to help address the needs of the city. If you want any more information or about that effort, feel free to reach out to me. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
All right, thank you. From my side, I do not have an update on the Planning Commission for the last month. So hopefully next month we'll be having something. All right, with that.
Just quickly, because we just double-checked. So the Senior Resource Fair is on the 19th, Thursday, September 19th.
They have it wrong on their agenda, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so sorry about that for any confusion.
Well, on the 21st, I don't want you to be, if you don't have anything to do on Saturday, September 21st, you can go to the Hot Potato Bingo.
Are we allowed to go to that?
Yes.
I would love.
The joke is, guess what they're serving?
12:30 to 4 p.m.
Potato bar?
And the admission includes lunch, which is a hot potato bar, salad, dessert, and drink, and 3 bingo cards. And if you want extra cards, they are $1 a card.
So that's Saturday the 21st?
That's Saturday, the 21st. And they
Last time I went to a potato bar, it was a vodka thing.
So there is bingo payouts of $30 a game. There's one $200 blackout and $100 blackout. And the blackout games are 4 cards for $1. So anybody can go. You don't have to be 55 and over.
Okay. All right.
But I guess that's a big, really exciting event, and everybody, the seniors really like it.
It's going to be tater tots too, or just hot potato?
I think
Just the hot
Baked potato. Okay.
Potato.
No tater tots.
You should go. Well, you never know what's going to show up.
Might have curly fries.
Yeah.
Or sweet potato fries.
All right. So before we adjourn, Dr. Hanman, if we can add something about, especially when we have a new commissioner, that we have an alternate in every commission, every committee assignments, we have an alternate. So what we do is, if somehow we cannot go, you're supposed to inform the alternate person to join.
Oh, yes, sorry, I meant to mention that.
Right. And if you somehow cannot reach the alternate person, you can reach me out and try to get somebody else from the committee. But
And the dates and times of all those meetings
Are on the page.
Yeah.
And you'll receive the links, or you'll get an email that sends you the packet
Oh, got it.
for all the committees that you get assigned to, because you'll be added as liaison to that, so.
And you might want to see who is your alternate so that you know whom to reach out if you somehow cannot attend that meeting.
Other question, when is the ethics training deadline? Just as a reminder?
I didn't get any notice, but
It just depends on where you are in the cycle, because you don't do it every single year. So not every single one of you has the same
it
thing.
seemed like I just did it.
But there
Yeah,
are,
I thought I just did it too.
HR will send you reminder after reminder after reminder until you do it. And so, and eventually they start sending the reminders to me to remind you.
You think it's about that bribe?
I need to do it, so.
I just did it. I would have swore I did it earlier in the year.
Yeah, I don't think.
Well, I didn't get any notice.
It needs to be the, one that, yeah, sorry about that. We'll be well trained.
Does it mean something?
Well, sexual harassment part of it is like 4 hours.
It's from Christina, she said.
Yeah. I just was curious, so it's the end of September.
I'm not opening it.
Okay.
All right, and you did give everybody you said in the city my new email,
Yes,
so that they would have that.
yes.
Because I didn't get anything about an ethics thing, so I must be okay.
You're safe. You
Yeah.
must be ethical.
Oh, so.
We'll quadruple check, but I believe so, yes. It has been updated.
All right.
And mine's September.
Anything else on the agenda today?
No?
No? Okay. All right. With that, let's adjourn this meeting at 8:51 p.m. on August 14th. We are adjourned. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Congratulations.